If you've started a home service business or you are even thinking about starting one, this is going to be a very important video for you. If you guys don't know who I am, of course, my name is Griffin Thomas. I own the company you see right here, probably on my shirt, Preferred Pest Management in the Dallas, Texas area. We've been in business over 5 years now. And on my channel, I just document, my entire journey, the good, the bad, the ugly, all of the lessons that can hopefully save you guys lots of time, lots of headaches, and lots of money. But without further ado, I will drag myself over here real quick to kind of blow up this document that I have, or this Google Sheet, I should say, that we have here. This is all that you literally have to do. Like, I couldn't make this any more what I would consider as simple in terms of digitally. And of course, you can do this with pen and paper as well. It's just easier to present it this way. And I like being able to go in here and do this with really any type of job. It doesn't matter what type of job. A lot of my viewers are in the pest control industry, so it doesn't matter if you're talking about how much does a general pest control treatment cost us, a termite treatment cost us, or in this case, the cost of doing a attic remediation service. There's no limit in terms of what you can do with this. All that you literally do is either take and delete, or in this case, you can even zero out things that you're not going to have to purchase again. And if you need more columns, just simply kind of take everything that's at the bottom and then just drag it down a little bit, and then you got more room, and whatever you add is also going to be added to your grand total. So how do we get all this to actually work? So obviously, first and foremost, before we get into all the different little buttons and things like that, because I know when I first started my business, I did not know anything about like Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets or anything like that. So I'm just going to keep it pretty simple, as if like nothing about Google Sheets or anything like that. The easiest way to get started is, and of course, by the way, you can make this look a lot fancier and all this. Like I said, I'm trying to keep it as super simple as possible to where anybody can follow along. So in my first A column, I like just listing out anything that's going to go into the cost of a job. So I label it as just purchases. You can label it CapEx, whatever you want to label it, right? And then just list out everything. And then in our next column, of course, we're going to have our costs. Now, it's important, in my opinion at least, that you make sure to put whatever currency that you're going to put. It doesn't really matter either way. Obviously, it's just a preference of mine. But then, of course, you're going to go through and add all of this. And then right after that, of course, if you want to get even more technical with it, you can list the supplier that you're getting it from as well. I like doing this because sometimes what I'll do, especially when it's something that, is a larger purchase, I'll plug kind of the first item that we find, say it's from Viseris, Home Depot, whatever the case may be. And then I go and I look and I'm like, I wonder if there's anybody that has it cheaper. I can use this as a reference as well. And then if I find something cheaper that, is the same exact thing, then I just simply clear this out and then, update it all. Now, once you get everything in terms of costs added up here, what you're going to do is below at the complete bottom, after all those expenses, you're going to click this box here. And it's actually pretty straightforward. And if you have any issues with this, good news is ChatGPT can literally do this for you. All you got to do is, give it a screenshot of, your current setup. That's why I said set all this basic stuff up first. Take a screenshot of it and tell ChatGPT, hey, I need a formulation in, in this case, it would be what, B16, and the B16 spot that gives me, the grand total of all my costs. And then it'll give you the exact formula you need to copy and paste it in there. And if it has an issue, just tell ChatGPT, hey, it gave me this error, and eventually it'll get it right. But in this case, this one's pretty straightforward. You're just doing a sum equation, B2 through B15, of course, because this is where it all begins, obviously. And then all the way at the bottom of this column that we haven't really gotten into yet, I like to actually put what our job is selling for. What's our grand total of the job that we quoted the customer. And then right below that, we enter in a simple equation here. We're taking, of course, B16, which is obviously, our total that we quoted the customer, minus our total expected cost. And that's going to give us our expected, profit margins on the job. And then, of course, if you want to get even fancier with it in terms of having an actual percentage there, then, of course, the basic equation is just, D17 divided by D16. And that's going to give you the percentage. So like I said, guys, I mean, this is pretty straightforward in my opinion. The good thing is like I said, once you get this set up, it'll take you roughly 5 to 10 minutes, probably, maybe a little bit more if you have like zero experience with formulations and Google Sheets and things like that. But once you get your first one set up, from there you can literally just take and paste this over and over. And like I said, you can label each one in your Google account, one for general pest control, one for termite, one for attic remediation jobs, one for exclusion jobs, or, if you're a painter, maybe exterior painting, or if you're a plumber, this whatever plumbing job, right? And like I said, this is where the beauty, really starts to kick in. Say that, we need to do all of a sudden purchase a new hose, new hose for pulling out the insulation or something like that. And let's say it's going to be something like $300. Well, all you do is you go in and you enter in that $300, and then boom, everything will adjust automatically. Say that, everything's going to be the same in this example, but, this is a different job. Let's say we sold it for $12,000 or something like that. Then we see, okay, this is what our, grand total in terms of our profit is going to be. Obviously, it doesn't include taxes and all this stuff. But of course, what is the most important thing in business whenever we're getting started? It's simply just making money, not operating in the black or operating in the red. And like I said, don't get me wrong. I mean, yeah, you could just as easily do this with pen and paper, but I don't know, it's 2025, and I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to be having to keep track of all these different papers of if then. Like, I want to be able to literally copy and paste this whole thing and then paste it over here and then just do like a to B, like if we sell it for this versus if we discount it by 10%. That way we have options whenever we start talking about advertising and pitching customers and all these different tools that we can utilize to sell our services. To me, it's just much easier to do doing it this way. And this is coming from somebody who, like I said, when I first started my business, I was pen and paper everything. But with AI tools like ChatGPT, Claude, all these different things now that will literally essentially do it for you, there's really no excuse to kind of just step your game up in terms of technology. And like I said, this is kind of actually one of the more basic ones that even I've set up at this point. We have different ones for keeping track of our business budget using the Profit First system, keeping track of debt, keeping track of production pay for my employee. There's just so many ways that as home service business owners, we can make our lives easier. And that's what it's all about. What's the point in starting, getting into this journey just to make your life even harder than it was when you were just working as a technician? But that's pretty much it for this video. Hopefully you guys, of course, took something from it. Like I said, pretty straightforward. A lot of you guys probably already know how to do this, as a matter of fact, but I also know just from experience that there's a lot of you that don't. Just like, again, I didn't have like any experience with this stuff when I first started my business either. So sometimes it's just nice to see somebody like in your field, or at least a related field, kind of do these type of tutorials. And if nothing else, just kind of get your brain going on different ideas of how, you can utilize Google Sheets and just different platforms like this to, again, just make your life easier, and making sure, more than anything in this case, that we are being profitable. Like we said, none of this matters if we're not profitable. Like I always jokingly say to people, I'm like, look, we're not running a nonprofit, unfortunately. Like, we have to make money. Not to mention, this can even put you at ease because, when you're doing these larger jobs where you're having to buy 10, 20 different things, coordinating different rentals and all this other stuff, like, it can really add up very quick. So sometimes you might actually overestimate, kind of like, oh man, this is 500, this is 400. Like, you think real quick, oh, I'm spending like $5,000 on this job. Like, this job has to be sold for 15 or something crazy. And then you actually get everything down and see that, oh, it's actually only about like, $1,900, $2,000. Okay, how much do I actually need to make based off of our risk and, just everything else with business, right? So what I found is by sitting down, doing the math, a lot of times it will put me at ease because you're essentially budgeting before the budget, if that makes sense. Like, you're not having all the expenses come in, then waiting to get paid, and then at the end of the month, having to go through and balance everything out. Like, you already know before you go into the job that, like, hey, this is going to be an awesome job, right? But that's it. Hopefully you guys did take something from this. If you did, do me a favor, smash that thumbs up button, share it with somebody. And like I've said, if you're new to me and you got anything from this, we have over 1,000 videos on this channel. Feel free to check any of those out. Hopefully they can benefit you in any way. And I'll make sure to leave a couple of videos, probably somewhere over here, I believe. YouTube will actually pick one of them that they believe is the best suggested video from our channel for you, and I'll see you over there.